Okanagan Valley Radio is pleased to present For the Health of It with Tania Gustafson. Tania is an internationally certified and licensed nutritionist and fitness coach, helping people to live longer, stronger, healthier, better lives, naturally. Currently, Tania is one of the only 5 health professionals in Canada coaching people on how to use blood sugar stabilization to lose weight and achieve and maintain their health goals, not by dieting. For the Health of It is a weekly podcast where Tania will be sharing practical health tips and strategies, along with the occasional recipe and guest speakers with information that will ultimately spark healthy changes. Because as Tania says, if you don't take care of your body, where will you live? And now, here's your host, Tania Gustafson.
Good morning, everyone. This is Tania Gustafson, your nutritionist and fitness coach with Fit Nutrition. Welcome to another episode of For the Health of It. This morning we are going to embark on episode 2 in our 6-part series of the 6 components of health. Last week we talked about stress and the effects and what we can do to help minimize that. And this week we're going to touch on and talk about sleep and whether we're getting enough, not enough, what we can do to improve that, and why we need to be doing that for our health. So sleep and stress seem to be the 2 biggies here in North America that's affecting a lot of people. I'm going to call them the S words, as in negative, like a 4-letter word kind of thing. But in all seriousness, it's a really big problem here in North America because more and more people are just chronically tired and not getting enough sleep. And so what is that doing to our bodies? Not only is it just making us grumpy and edgy and moody and exhausted at the end of the day, it also is very damaging to our health over a long period of time, damaging to our physical and mental health, and also to our relationship health, over a long period of time. It can have quite serious effects. And so thinking about that, thinking about where you are, and I'm going to bring out my scale again because we talked about this on our first podcast there with the introduction. And so thinking about on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you on the sleep scale? So 1 means you hardly sleep at all. Things don't go very well. You wake up a lot during the night. You think you wake up in the morning, you think, oh my gosh, I haven't slept a wink. So that's number 1. Number 10 is out like a light, sleep like a baby, like a log, however you want to put it. And you just wake up feeling refreshed, vibrant, energized, and ready for the day all the time. So are you a 1 or are you a 10 or are you somewhere in between? I think most of us are probably somewhere in between. And ideally, we're not perfect beings, so we're not going to be a 10 every single day all the time. Probably not. There might be the odd person who is, or maybe, 90% of the time they will be, and that's fantastic. But doesn't mean that we all can't get there though. And we all need, seems to be different amounts of sleep. So everyone, people will say, oh, you need this amount, or you need that amount, or, you got to have your 8 hours and whatever. Now, 8 hours is great. If you get 8 hours of sleep a day, that's great, or a night rather. But some people may not need that full 8 hours, and some people may need a little bit more than 8 hours. So where I like to tell my clients that the best way to try and figure out how much sleep you need for your body is when you go to bed and you can wake up feeling refreshed without an alarm clock. So how many hours is that? You go to bed, you fall asleep, you wake up without an alarm clock, you feel refreshed. How many hours is that? So, try and do that maybe when you have a vacation or over a long weekend or something like that, so you can kind of see an average of how many hours that is. And then taking that forward in order to get enough sleep, backing that up so that you're going to bed at the time you need to get the right amount of sleep that you need to in order to wake up in time to tackle the day, right? Because if we're shorting ourselves, staying up too late, and then using that alarm clock, hitting the snooze yet again, dragging ourselves out of bed, filling ourselves full of coffee, all those stimulants are actually not beneficial to help us. Some people just drink coffee because they like it. Most people are drinking coffee because they need to get energized in the morning. They have a crash in the afternoon. They need to get energized in the afternoon, or they can't make it through the day. And by the time they get home, they are just done on the couch. So if they have to do anything in the evening, there they go again, getting another cup of coffee or something else, maybe something with sugar or an energy drink or alcohol, something like that, that's that they're using to help get them through the next activity, get them through the rest of the day before they, crash out into bed. And using those external things to help you energize and stay awake, if they're not all natural, if they're, chemically derived and synthetic caffeines and all those kinds of things, those can actually disrupt your body and make sleep not happen very well for you when you do go to bed at night. So just keeping that in mind, we would like to try and reduce those kinds of things and using more natural things to help you sleep. So if we don't get enough sleep, what's the problem with that? What's the big deal? You can, people are saying, well, I can get through my day tired. I can live on 4 hours of sleep. Well, yeah, you can live that way. You can survive that way, rather. You're not really living. You're kind of existing and you're going through your day in a fog. Just ask any mom with a brand new baby how well her brain functions when she's been up all night checking on the baby and she has another child at home, so she can't have that nap during the day. Just ask one of those people. I've been there. I've been that mom. I've got 3 grown kids now, but I still remember. And you can survive, absolutely. Our bodies are meant to endure a lot. We can really endure a lot. That doesn't mean we should be abusing our bodies, but in those instances where we can't do anything about it, honestly, there's no other way, as with moms and new babies, maybe an aged parent or something that's living with you, or maybe your spouse is ill or something, and so you're getting up in the middle of the night to help them, things like that, but usually those are not a permanent lifetime thing. Those are a period of time, and we get through it, and then we can go back to what is a healthy sleep pattern. The problem is sometimes people are not going back to those healthy patterns, or they feel that they can't, or something's interrupted their patterns or their days or their habits or whatever it happens to be, and they're just being satisfied with less and less sleep. They're just accepting it, rather, thinking, well, that's just going to be the way it is. I don't sleep as well because I'm older, or I don't sleep as well because of this, or I have an allergy, it wakes me up, whatever it happens to be. People are just accepting that, and rather than trying to figure out a way to combat that and then get the sleep we need to rejuvenate our bodies, because that's when our bodies are being rejuvenated, restored, fats being excreted through the body, toxins are released better, kids are growing more when they're sleeping. All these wonderful things happen when we're sleeping. It's that restorative place. It's like when you go to bed at night, you plug your cell phone in, right? What are you doing to it? You're recharging it. If you have an electric car, what are you doing? You're plugging it in because you are recharging it. It's not moving. You're not doing anything else with it. It's just filling up again so that it can run well and efficiently the next day. And that's what we need to do to our bodies. If we're only just ever putting a little teeny bit in, there's always something more that we have to do to give it a boost in order to keep going throughout our day, and it's not very helpful. So there's also studies that show, lots of tests have been done on people who are tired, and what are the effects of those? And just people who are driving, there's way more accidents. You're more likely to have an accident if you're tired than if you're under the influence of alcohol. People that are being tested when they're super tired, sleep deprived, they are functioning as if they were supremely intoxicated, and they're not able to balance. They're not able to have that quick judgment. And so those people really shouldn't be behind the wheel. They also shouldn't be operating heavy machinery and all those other kinds of things, but that happens in our daily lives because we just, we have that, I have to get this done. I have to keep going. I have to keep going. This is what's going on in my day. So if we're going to keep going in our day and we can't take those things back, and we can't slow stuff down and just sit and have a break in the middle of the day or have a nap, then we need to find some strategies to have some more sleep. So what other things will happen if we're sleep deprived? You can gain weight. The body's hormonal system isn't functioning as well. The body does not metabolize food as well when you're sleep deprived. And so those little receptors, those little indicators to your body that says, hey, I'm full, you can stop eating now, those are disrupted. So we tend to eat a little bit more. It tends to make us put on the pounds. Internal stress is created in our body. We know from last week that stress increases the cortisol levels in our body. The lack of sleep can cause mental fog and lack of focus, lack of concentration, depression. It can lower your sex drive. It can increase your risk of diabetes and heart disease and infertility. So there's a whole lot of reasons here. Oh, and high blood pressure, can increase that risk. So there's a whole lot of lifestyle diseases that sleep directly affects. And we want to make sure that we are doing our very, very best to get the most of it. So how much sleep do you need? Well, like I said, go to bed, ditch the alarm clock, do it for a couple, 2, 3, 4 nights in a row if you can, and see where you fall, how many hours of sleep you need every night. So that's a good place to start to see where you're at, because you need to know how much you need, basically. And when you can wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on your day without the alarm clock dragging your butt out of bed, then that's your number. So for me, my number is somewhere between 6 and 7 hours. I'm quite happy with that. I function really well. I get up usually before my alarm clock. If I'm just feeling lazy or it's rainy outside, then sometimes I just snuggle down just because I like to, listen to the rain. But I am refreshed and ready to jump out of bed. My husband, on the other hand, he's more of an 8 or 9 hour guy, and he really needs that sleep. And so sometimes when he has to go into work early and he's stayed up a little bit too late, he's really feeling it the next day, and there's only so long you can do that when you can't actually get all those hours back. It's a very short window of time. And so doing that chronically over time, you are hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours sleep deprived. And eventually, that actually studies have been shown that it can shorten your lifespan. So really, getting enough sleep, there's a huge, huge push to be getting enough sleep. So we've talked about that. And so now, what can we do to help us sleep a little better? And what are your favorites that you do? So there's a lot of things out there that people can do that are really, really easy and that don't cost you a lot of money. And there's a few other things that you may not even think that might be in your home that is preventing you from actually getting to sleep or staying asleep or having a good quality sleep. And just a little FYI here, I just thought I'd fill this in for you. Our sleep cycles go in about a 90-minute cycle. So you're in a shallow part of sleep at the very beginning, and then as you drop down, you get into the REM sleep and the deep sleep, and then you cycle back up, and it's a little bit shallower sleep, and then you go back down into the deep sleep, and that cycles through as you're sleeping through the night. So if you've ever woken up and you just feel dog tired and you think, oh my word, but I've had 7 or 8 hours of sleep, why do I feel like this? It's because if you had that alarm clock going and it woke you up, or your spouse woke you up, or your kids woke you up, or some noise outside woke you up, and you were down at the very bottom of that sleep cycle, you wake up and you feel like you're in a fog, and it's really sluggish because your body was not in that place to wake up. It was not welcoming the wake. It was welcoming the sleep. So you want to try and think about those hour and a half, that 90-minute cycles, and how many hours of sleep that you need so that you're setting that time to get up in the morning when it's going to be the time that your body is coming out of that deep sleep and at the crest of that shallow sleep, so that your body is open and willing and ready and accepting of waking up. And you will feel so much more refreshed. It's okay, it's fine and dandy to say, yep, 7 hours, I know I need 7 hours. And then, excuse me, you set that timer, but it happens to be going off at a time where, you're in the bottom of the sleep cycle and you just wake up feeling dog tired. So think about that, think about where all of those cycles are, and it's going to help you a little bit to place that and just make it feel like you've had a much better quality sleep, and you'll be much more ready to jump out of bed and take on the day. So that's just a little caveat there.
You're listening to Tania Gustafson and For the Health of It, exclusively on OkanaganValleyRadio.com. And now let's get back to the show.
Okay, so what can we do on a daily basis that's going to help us get better sleep on a more regular basis? So the first thing I suggest is sticking to a sleep schedule. Having the same bedtime and wake time, even on the weekends, helps to regulate your body's clock, your body's circadian rhythm, and it we as humans, we love schedules. Our bodies love schedules. Think about if you have children, think about when your kids were babies, or even when they're toddlers and little kids and stuff. They, a lot of times they're crashing at the same time every night, and then they're waking up at the same time every morning. Even if you stretch it and let them stay up at night, they're usually waking up at the same time in the morning. Our bodies are just designed that way. They really like routine and like schedules. So going to bed at the same time every night or close as possible, and then waking up at the same time as often as possible as well, even on the weekends, will totally help you out. Having relaxing bedtime rituals. So doing something that you find relaxing, listening to some music, reading a book, maybe playing a card game, doing a crossword, reading a magazine, having a hot bath. All those kinds of things are very relaxing. Having a nice hot cup of herbal tea. Remember to keep the caffeine out of the evening, out of anything to do in the evening. That's not going to help you sleep. Even if you're one of those people that can fall asleep after you've had a cup of coffee, you may get to sleep right away, but it's going to affect how you sleep and the quality of your sleep. Remember, we talked about the stimulants at the very beginning there. So that's a stimulant. You want to avoid those. So late in the afternoon and into the early evening, you just want to keep them out if at all possible. So that cup of herbal tea is going to be really nice. There's some hot water and lemon, things like that. Having a diffuser in your house that has a nice lavender scent, things that are going to be calming and relaxing, those kinds of things. And if you're having trouble sleeping, keeping that rhythm, that schedule is important, and then avoiding naps. Naps are okay if we're able to do them consistently at the same time through, all the time. And so if we're able to do that all the time on a regular basis, then that's great. That's going to be beneficial for you. If it's going to be randomly and catnapish and all those kinds of things, then it's not all that beneficial. And again, thinking about that 90-minute clock. If you're having just a short, quick 20 to 30 minutes, you're okay. You're not going to get down into that really deep sleep. But if you're going past, like getting into the 45 minutes and stuff like that, and then you think, I've got 45 minutes. I've got a great time. I'm going to go have a nap. You're going to be really sluggish trying to get out of that nap. And then it's going to set the tone for the rest of the day, which is not going to be very productive for you. So trying to think about that. Exercise on a daily basis. Vigorous exercise is really good. It helps to, burst off all that energy. Remember, we talked about the stress and so it relieves the stress, and anything that happened during the day, it just sort of let it go. And that big burst of energy allows the proprioceptors in the brain to calm down and all those kinds of things. You burn off the toxins when you sweat. It's wonderful. So vigorous exercise is best, but even just a light walk, going out for a walk after dinner, something like that, is going to really help. It's better than nothing. It's better than coming home from work, plopping down, waiting for dinner, having dinner, moving to the couch, watching TV for 3 or 4 hours, and then trying to go to bed. So that's the other thing, is I'm going to say, limit your screen time. Think about shutting all those screens off about an hour before you go to bed. Half an hour minimum, but an hour is better. And turning all those screens off. See, our bodies are designed to respond to light. So we're designed to wake up when we see light, and we're designed to go to sleep when it's dark. So the light that comes out of our phones and out of the TV and out of our computers and our iPads and laptops and all those things triggers the brain to say, be awake, it's daytime, be awake. So if we continue to bombard our psyche and our brain with this later into the day, it's giving us that message that, it's not time to go to bed yet. It's time to be awake. So our brain is trying to still be energized. So that's going to make it very difficult for you to fall asleep when you do decide to close that computer and get ready for bed. And that brings me to the next point of keeping those items out of the bedroom. So again, they have that light, sitting there in bed watching a movie on TV or on your iPad or on your computer or on your phone or anything like that is really bombarding your brain with stay awake, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. And although some people do fall asleep to the TV, it's not going to be the same quality of sleep as if you were to shut it all down Give yourself half an hour of no screen time. So read something, or, that's when you do the reading or having the bath or something like that, something else before you go to bed. And then it's going to give that brain a chance to be used to that it's getting darker and that you're not going to be bombarded with all that light, and it's going to be able to calm down and allow you to sleep deeper and more restorative. So that's something that you want to take into consideration. And also in the bedroom, evaluate the temperature in there. So you want to have it a couple degrees, 3, 4, 5 degrees even cooler than the rest of your house. So ideally, the sleep experts are saying somewhere between 60 and 67 degrees, which is going to be, okay, that's the US version. In Canada, that's going to be like, 18 degrees, something like that in your room. You want to keep it. And when you're a little bit cooler, because our body temperature cools down naturally when we are getting ready for sleep, when our bodies are getting tired. I find myself, I know that I can tell when I'm getting tired and ready for bed because I'll start to feel chilled and I'll want to grab a blanket or something. And so just pay attention to that and see if you've noticed that too. But our bodies will naturally turn the temperature down, our internal thermostat down a few degrees. And so it recognizes that that's a cooler, more comfortable, or it's a more comfortable place to be and to sleep when it's cooler in our bedrooms. So try turning the thermostat down in your room if you can, making it really dark in there as well. Remember we talked about the light, so we want to use the blackout shades or put your blinds all the way down. If you have to use your phone for that alarm clock, then turn the phone upside down so that you're not seeing the screen, because any little notification that can happen will light your screen up. And that's sort of sending that message to your brain, because you're not seeing it, you're sleeping, but your brain is still picking that up because it's light in the room and it lights up quite a bit. So do that. Also check for anything that can be distracting with noises and things like that. You want to, some ambient noise might be okay. Like you can get some music that you can play that just is sort of a background, sort of a white noise almost. If you live in a noisy neighborhood with traffic and things like that, you might want to try something like that to sort of just have a constant tone where it's going to allow you to relax without all the big noises in between. Also, here's something that some people don't even think about, and it's where your electrical box is on your house. A lot of times if you've tried a whole lot of things to try and sleep and things are still not working, and you don't do the caffeine and you go to bed on time and you try and get all your sleep and you're drinking lots of water and you're just, you're doing all the things that you know how to do and you're still not having great quality sleep, take a look and see where the electrical box is on the outside of your house. And if it's right near where the head of your bed is, try changing the configuration of your bedroom to see if you can get the head of your bed on the other side of the room, away from the electrical box, because sometimes that makes a big difference for people. We can't normally hear that electricity going through the walls, but the frequency and the sound, our brain picks that up and it's very stimulating. So we want to try and be far away from that. Okay, so thinking about that. The other things some people like to do, they don't want to do the white noise or whatever, or a humidifier or a fan or something that makes sort of like that little ambient noise. Try some earplugs. The little squishy foam things work really great. Those also are great to take when you're traveling. My husband always takes them because I get up early in the morning, earlier than him, and I'll get ready and I'll go out to the gym. So if we're in a hotel and they have those doors that are just so noisy every time you open and close them, right? So he puts in the earplugs so that I don't wake him up, and then everybody's happy. Make sure your bed is comfortable, your mattress and your pillows. We spend an awful lot of time in bed sleeping. And if your bed is not comfortable, if you're tossing and turning, if it's not the right firmness for you, if it's too warm, if your blankets are too hot or not warm enough or whatever, if your pillows are lumpy or if they're too fluffy or whatever it happens to be, that you need to find the right balance for you. And because this is what's going to help you, another thing that's going to help you be comfortable and sleep well. And that's very important. So, we talked about the lights. Avoiding alcohol, cigarettes, and super heavy before bed snacks and things like that, those are all things that are going to disrupt your sleep. So anything that's a stimulant, like we talked about alcohol, people drink it, they'll think, oh, I'm going to have a drink and relax, but it's actually a stimulant on the inside. When you have a cigarette, when you have alcohol, any sort of narcotic or drug, anything like that, it elevates your heart rate. It can be up to about 10 beats a minute. And so although you're feeling relaxed from the action that you're doing, inside you're actually revving up to get going, and that's not what you want to do late at night. Having anything that's really too heavy on your stomach right before bed is not also advised either, because it's just going to be sitting there, and it's the digestion. You're going to be waiting for the digestion to happen. So, I mean, although I always recommend to my clients, we're eating our PFCs. Remember we talked about the PFCs in our very first episode, your proteins, fats, and carbs, because you want to stay balanced. You always want to balance your blood sugar. That's going to also keep your body in balance and all your systems functioning optimally when you create that homeostasis within your body. And that's going to help you sleep as well. So we don't want to be skipping meals and missing out on things, but we want to make sure that we're doing it far enough away from when our head hits the pillow. So about an hour and a half to an hour before bed is when you should be having your last small meal. So eating within an hour of when you get up, eating every 3 to 4 hours throughout the day, up until about an hour and a half before bed, a protein, fat, and a carb together, and your healthy carbs. So when I say carbs, I'm referring to your fruits and your vegetables, all those good things. I always, of course, recommend ditching anything that's in a package. Anything that's in crinkly paper, ditch those things, because those are not helping you in any way, shape, or form. And usually they're full of a lot of salt, a lot of sugar, a lot of chemicals, which are, again, stimulants and things that are going to put toxins in your body that's going to cause your body to be out of balance, doing extra work, trying to detox, and that can also affect your sleep. Okay, and if you're going to sleep and you can't sleep, so if you're having trouble sleeping, the thing not to do is do not get up and turn on your screen, go for the phone or go for the iPad or turn the TV on. Not the best choice, really, because again, with that light, it's stimulating, hey, wake up, wake up, wake up. And so that's kind of, in this generation, that's where everybody wants to go first. Oh, let's just go and flip through Facebook, or oh, let's just go watch a movie or something. Now, if you have a dimmer on your screen, you can turn that screen right down, and you have music on your phone that you'd like to listen to. That's a different story. So quickly get into that with the screen, really dimmed. If you have trouble sleeping and you're trying to figure out some patterns, I would dim the screen before you go to bed so that when you activate that to find your music, it's not going to blast you. Okay, does that make sense? I hope. The other thing is you could go and sit in a hot bath and relax further. Have a little cup of the hot to the warm tea again, breathe in some essential oils, sit and do some stretching on the floor. A lot of times that will really help to relieve some tension and just make you feel really good and relaxed. A nice big stretch is always welcome. And then you can try and go back to bed. Also, if you're feeling too hot or cold, you might want to open the window a little bit, adjust the heat, take a look at that, pay attention to how you're feeling. And ladies, if you're having some challenges with menopause and things like that, with your temperature and your thermostat not working so great, again, pay really close attention to your PFC balance. I've coached quite a few groups through the rec center, most of them retired ladies, and almost every single one of them has said that when they follow the protein, fat, carb, when they eat their PFCs every 3 and they do that on a consistent basis, not only were they losing the weight that they wanted to lose and keeping it off, but their hormones were balancing and those symptoms were decreasing on a continuous basis. I even had one lady email me. She was so excited, and she said that she had 99% of all her menopause symptoms were gone. So there's just a little, motivation there for you to give these things a try, because it doesn't cost you anything. It's a little bit of time to reorganize in your day, a little bit of planning for all these things. And, you can make huge differences in your health. And when you're sleeping better, when you're feeling better, when you're having more energy, You are the best you that you can be for everyone around you. So thanks for listening today to For the Health of It. And you can find me today and always at fuelignitethrive.com. I would love to hear from you. If you want to send me a message, please do. If you have a suggestion or a comment on today's show or for future shows, would love to hear that from you. And if you're interested in losing some weight and you want a support group, check me out on Facebook. You are more than welcome and invited to join my 8 Weeks is All It Takes group. That's 8 with the digit. 8 weeks is all it takes. And I will talk to you again next week as we continue our series on the 6 components of health. This is Tania Gustafson, your fit nutritionist. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again next week.
You've been listening to For the Health of It with your host, Tania Gustafson. Be sure to join her next week for more great health tips. If you missed any of her shows, you'll find them in the podcast archives at OkanaganValleyRadio.com.